In the brutal world of wide-body aircraft, two giants have ruled the skies for decades: Boeing and Airbus. Their flagship long-haul jets, the Boeing 777X and Airbus A350, have been locked in a relentless duel for dominance. For years, it seemed like no one could touch them, the rest of the world, just spectators. No third player dared to enter this elite arena. But now, something unexpected is stirring in the East. Russia has decided it's time to break that monopoly, and their weapon of choice is a machine called the Il-9640M, a bold new challenger, born not just from engineering ambition, but from a political necessity. The question is, can this Russian jet really take on Boeing and Airbus? And when? To understand how we got here, we have to rewind all the way back to the 1970s. The Soviet Union unveiled its first ever wide-body aircraft, the Ilyushin Il-96. At the time, it was revolutionary. A plane built for long-haul routes, featuring something no Western jet had: built-in staircases. It could land anywhere, even in airports with no infrastructure. It was independence in metal form. But that innovation came at a cost: less space for cargo and higher weight. By the late 1980s, the Soviet Union wanted more. They needed an aircraft that could truly compete with the West. That's when the Il-96-300 was born. Equipped with brand-new PS90 turbofan engines, it was a massive leap forward. For the first time ever, Russia had an aircraft that could match Western planes in performance and efficiency. It was supposed to be a triumph, the pride of Russian aviation. But fate had other plans. When the Iron Curtain fell, the global market opened up, and Western aircraft dominated. The Il-96 never became the commercial success it was meant to be. Airlines saw it as too small, too heavy, and too costly compared to Boeing and Airbus alternatives. Yet the engineers didn't give up. They pushed forward with an extended version, the Il-96-400. Longer, stronger, and more advanced. Aerodynamic tweaks, better avionics, improved range. It could carry more passengers and fly farther than ever before. But still, it wasn't enough. The aviation world had changed. Airlines wanted twin-engine aircraft lighter, cheaper, and far more fuel. Four-engine jets were fading into history. The Il-96 looked like a relic of a different era, and for a while, that's exactly what it became. Until now, after decades in the shadows, the Il-96 has returned, reborn as the Il-9640M. This aircraft represents more than a technological upgrade. It's a statement, a declaration that Russia will no longer depend on the West for its skies. The new variant promises extended range, lower fuel burn, and modern systems capable of standing toe-to-toe with Boeing and Airbus. The beating heart of this revival is the PS90A2, an evolution of Russia's most successful jet engine. The original PS90A was a game-changer in the late 1980s, the first Russian engine to meet global noise and emission standards. It was quieter, cleaner, and far more efficient than anything that came before it. But the world didn't stop evolving, and neither did Russia. The upgraded A2 version offers 10% better fuel efficiency and lower maintenance. Costs small numbers on paper, but in aviation, that's millions of dollars saved every year. And yet, Russia isn't stopping there. Engineers are working on something much bigger, the PD-35. A next-generation powerhouse designed to rival the mighty GE9X that powers Boeing's 777X, with up to 76,000 pounds of thrust. This engine aims to slash fuel, burn, and emissions while eliminating reliance on any foreign components. If they pull this off, Russia won't just have an airplane. They'll have the foundation for true aerospace independence, the Il-9640M. Itself has undergone a complete transformation. Nearly 10 meters longer than the Il-96-300. It can carry up to 436 passengers in a full economy layout. That's massive. The redesigned wings improve aerodynamics, reducing drag and boosting range. Inside, modern avionics make it easier and safer to fly. And the cabin, more spacious, quieter, and equipped with larger overhead bins and a new entertainment system, finally brings Russian air travel closer to Western standards. But here's the question everyone's asking: can a four-engine jet survive in a two-engine world? On paper, the Il-9640M's range of around 10,000 kilometers puts it on par with its rivals. but for engines mean higher maintenance costs and greater fuel consumption. Airlines don't like that. However, there's one thing a quadjet does better than anything else: safety. On ultra-long routes over oceans or remote regions, having four engines offers unmatched redundancy. And for countries that value reliability over raw efficiency, that could be a strong selling point. Still, Russia knows the future is twin. That's why plans are already in motion for a new version of the Il-96 powered by two PD-35 engines. Imagine that, a Russian twin-engine, wide-body capable of competing directly with the Boeing 777X and Airbus A350. Lower fuel burn, less maintenance, cleaner emissions, and all built entirely with domestic technology. That's not just an airplane. That's a geopolitical statement. See, sanctions have changed everything. With limited access to Western aircraft and parts, Russia is being forced to innovate fast. The PD-35 program has become more than a technological project. It's a symbol of defiance. A message to the world that says, we'll build our own future. But make no mistake, this is not an easy road. Developing a modern jet engine from scratch is one of the hardest things any country can do. It requires years of R&D testing and billions in funding. The goal is to have the PD-35 ready for flight by 2025, but that's an ambitious target. Engineers face enormous challenges in thermal efficiency, material science, and certification standards. Every percentage of improvement takes years of experimentation. Yet, if they succeed, everything changes. A twin-engine Il-96, powered by the PD-35, could finally make Russia competitive again on the global stage. Airlines in Asia, Africa, and Latin America regions, eager for a cost-effective, long-haul options, could see it as a serious alternative to Western jets. And beyond the Il-96, the PD-35 could become the foundation for an entirely new generation of Russian aircraft, including military transports and cargo freighters. It's not just an engine. It's a symbol of resilience, independence, and the refusal to surrender in a world dominated by Western aviation giants. Of course, the competition is fierce. Boeing, Airbus, GE, and Rolls-Royce have decades of experience and the trust of airlines worldwide. To break through, Russia will have to prove that the Il-9640M and the PD-35 can match Western standards in reliability, safety, and performance. And that's no small task. Airlines are risk-averse. They won't gamble on an unproven platform without guarantees. But this project isn't just about sales. It's about pride. It's about proving that innovation doesn't belong to one side of the world. If the United Engine Corporation can deliver what it promises, the Il-9640M could evolve from a forgotten relic into a legitimate global contender. A twin-engine Il-96 could give Aeroflot and Russia's aviation industry something they haven't had in decades: a homegrown, long-range jet that can fly anywhere in the world without relying on foreign technology. And that's where this story gets interesting. Because if Russia pulls this off, the Il-96 might not just survive. It might thrive. It could mark the start of a new chapter. One where Russian aerospace stops playing catch-up and starts shaping the future of global aviation. It's a long road ahead, full of obstacles and uncertainty. But one thing is clear: the Il-9640M represents more than an aircraft. It's a comeback story, a symbol of a nation refusing to be grounded. So what do you think? Could this be the jet that finally challenges the West? Or will it remain a dream of what could have been? Share your thoughts below, and if you made it this far, you're a legend. Hit that subscribe button, because the next generation of aviation is taking off, and you don't want to miss it. In the high-stakes world of aviation, only a few names dominate the skies: Boeing and Airbus, titans of the modern era. Their wide-body aircraft, the Boeing 777X and the Airbus A350, represent the absolute peak of commercial flight. For years, these two have been locked in a brutal, unending duel for supremacy. They control the market, set the prices, shape the future. For everyone else, there was no room to compete, no seat at the table. But that's about to change, because after decades of silence, one name is resurfacing from the cold hangars of the East, and with it, a machine born from ambition, resilience, and defiance. The Il-9640M, it's a declaration, a message to the world that says, Russia is back in the game, But can it really challenge the giants of the West? Can it go head-to-head with the 777X or the A352 of the most advanced aircraft humanity has ever built? Let's find out to understand how the Il-9640M came to be. We have to go back in time to the 1970s. The Cold War was raging. The Soviet Union wanted to prove it could do everything the West could and do it better. That's when they built the Ilyushin Il-86, the first Soviet wide-body aircraft. It was bold, rugged, and uniquely Soviet. It didn't need fancy airport infrastructure. It had built-in staircases so passengers could board anywhere, even in the middle of nowhere. It was practical, independent, and perfectly suited to the massive, underdeveloped Soviet landscape. Those staircases came at a cost: less cargo space, more weight, and higher operating expenses. By the late 80s, the world was moving fast. As the Soviet Union collapsed, global airlines opened their doors to Western manufacturers. Boeing and Airbus flooded the market with twin-engine jets that were cheaper to operate and easier to maintain. The Il-96 couldn't keep up. It was too heavy, too expensive, and lacked international support. The dream faded, but not completely. In the early 2000s, Ilyushin tried again. The Il-96-400 was stretched, strengthened, and upgraded. It could carry more passengers, fly longer, and had new avionics that brought it closer to modern standards. But by then, the industry had already moved on. Airlines were obsessed with fuel efficiency, and four-engine aircraft were dying out. Even legends like the Boeing 747 and the Airbus A380 were being phased out. It seemed like the end of the story, until recently, when sanctions, politics, and necessity reignited the fire. With the West cutting off aircraft parts and restricting sales, Russia realized something crucial. If it couldn't buy modern jets, it would have to build its own. And so, out of the ashes of history, the Il-96 was reborn, the Il-9640M. This isn't just an upgrade, it's a transformation. A complete redesign aimed at one goal: independence. The new aircraft features a stretched fuselage, redesigned wings, modernized cockpit systems, and improved aerodynamics. It can carry up to 436 passengers, has a range of over 10,000 kilometers, and is powered by the PS90A2, an engine that marks a new era in Russian design. But here's where things get truly interesting. The PS90A2 isn't the end of the story. It's just the beginning. Behind the scenes, Russian engineers are developing something much bigger. The PD-35, a monster of an engine with up to 76,000 pounds of thrust, designed entirely in Russia, using no foreign components, if they succeed. This engine will rival the GE9X that powers the Boeing 777X, the most advanced engine in the world. Imagine that for a second. A Russian twin-engine Il-96 powered by the PD-35, capable of flying the same routes as Boeing's best without needing any Western technology. That's not just an airplane. That's a geopolitical power move, of course. The challenges are enormous. Developing a large turbofan engine is one of the hardest things any nation can do. It's not just about power, it's about precision. It's about materials that can survive extreme temperatures, compressors that spin at impossible speeds, and systems that must never fail. Russia wants to bring the PD-35 into service by 2025. Absolutely. But if they succeed, it could change everything. Because for the first time in decades, the West might not have a monopoly on high efficiency, long-range engines. And that's where the Il-9640M could finally shine. Its new design combines classic durability with modern efficiency. The wings are optimized to cut drag and extend range. The fuselage is refined for better aerodynamics. Inside, the cabin feels wider, quieter, and more comfortable with larger windows, bigger bins, and customizable layouts for airlines. Every detail is designed to send a message. Russia can still innovate, but let's be real, the world has changed. Airlines today want efficiency, not power. They want engines, not for. So while the Il-9640M might look impressive on paper, its biggest weakness is obvious. It still runs on 4 engines. 4 engines mean more fuel, more maintenance, and higher costs. That's why Boeing and Airbus abandoned this configuration years ago. It's not all downside. For engines, mean more safety and redundancy, especially on routes that cross oceans or remote polar regions where diversion airports are scarce. For some airlines, especially state-owned or military operators, that reliability still matters. But if Russia can create a twin-engine Il-96 powered by PD-35s, that's a different story. That aircraft could change the balance of power: lower fuel consumption, fewer parts, less maintenance, and complete freedom from Western control. In a world where technology and politics are more entangled than ever, that's a massive strategic advantage. Because this project isn't just about competing with Boeing and Airbus, it's about surviving without them. Sanctions have made it impossible for Russian airlines to buy new Boeings or Airbus, or even get spare parts for the ones they already have. The Il-9640M is the only path forward, a lifeline for Russia's long-haul aviation industry. And if it succeeds, it won't just serve domestic routes. It could open doors to new markets in Asia, Africa, and Latin America regions eager for affordable, non-Western aircraft. The Il-9640M could become the flagship of a new kind of globalization, one where nations look east instead of west for their aviation needs. The road ahead is long and uncertain. The PD-35 engine is years away from certification. The Il-9640M must prove its reliability, performance, and cost-effectiveness before airlines will take it seriously. And even then, Boeing and Airbus have decades of trust built with customers, something no newcomer can replicate overnight. But make no mistake, this is not about overnight success. This is about persistence. Russia isn't trying to dominate the global market tomorrow. It's building independence for the next 50 years. And that's what makes the Il-9640M fascinating. It's not just a machine of metal and engines. It's a symbol, a statement that innovation doesn't die under pressure. It adapts. For now, the Il-9640M remains a promise. But if the PD-35 delivers, and if Russia truly manages to modernize its production capabilities, this aircraft could mark the start of a new era, where the balance of power in the skies begins to shift. Because history has shown one thing over and over again: in aviation, the underdog never stays down forever. So here's the big question: can the Il-9640M really rewrite the story of Russian aviation? Or is it destined to remain a symbol of what could have been? Tell me what you think in the comments. And if you're still watching, you're part of the 1% who stay until the end. You're why this channel exists. Hit that subscribe button and let's see together if the East can truly rise again in the skies. Because this might just be the beginning of a new flight. For decades, two names have ruled the skies: Boeing, Airbus. They built empires in the clouds, one in Seattle, the other in Toulouse, and together they decided what the future of aviation would look like. Their aircraft connect continents, shape economies, and define how the modern world moves. For everyone else, there was no room to compete. The skies belonged to them. But then, out of the cold wind of the East came a whisper of a plain thought long dead, a name forgotten by most of the world, now being brought back to life: the Il-96-400M. At first glance, it looks like another wide-body jet. For engines, long fuselage, swept wings. But this aircraft isn't just about design, it's about defiance. It's a message to the world: Russia isn't done yet. To understand why this plane matters and what it could mean for global aviation, we need to travel back in time, to an era when the Soviet Union was determined to conquer the skies on its own terms. It's the 1970s. The West has the Boeing 747, a marvel of engineering, a global symbol of power and prestige. The Soviets couldn't afford to fall behind. They needed a wide-body jet of their own, something that could carry hundreds of passengers across continents, even without modern airports or ground infrastructure. So, they built the Ilyushin Il-86. It was big. It was bold. It was Soviet to the core, practical, self-sufficient, and built to operate anywhere. No jet bridges? No problem. The Il-86 had built-in staircases, letting passengers board directly from the tarmac. No fancy airport terminals needed. It was independence made of metal. But there was a price. Those staircases took up valuable space, reducing cargo capacity and increasing weight. The aircraft was strong, but not efficient. It could fly far, but not far enough. By the late 1980s, the Soviet Union knew it had to evolve. It needed something that could truly rival the West's best. So engineers began working on the next generation, the Il-96-300. This wasn't just a facelift, it was an overhaul, a four-engine widebody fitted with PS908 turbofans, quieter and more efficient than any Soviet engine before it. It marked a turning point. For the first time, a Russian jet could meet international noise and emission standards. When it first rolled out, the Il-96 symbolized hope, a glimpse of what Soviet aviation could become. But then the world changed overnight. The Soviet Union collapsed, and when the walls fell, so did the market for Russian aircraft. Airlines that once had no choice suddenly had access to Boeings and Airbuses, aircraft that were lighter, cheaper, and supported by global service networks. The Il-96, despite its innovation, was left behind. Still, the engineers at Ilyushin refused to give up. They stretched it, refined it, improved it. In the early 2000s, they unveiled the Il-96-400, longer, stronger, and more capable than before. It could carry more passengers, fly farther, and handle modern avionics. But by then, the world had moved on. Twin-engine jets like the 777 and a 330 had proven you didn't need for engines to cross oceans. They burned less fuel, cost less to maintain, and fit perfectly into the economics of modern airlines. The Il-96 was a masterpiece in the wrong era, a four-engine aircraft trying to survive in a two-engine world. For years, it sat in the background, quietly serving government missions, VIP flights, and niche routes. A relic, but not forgotten. Then came 2022. Sanctions hit. Western aircraft were grounded, parts were cut off, and suddenly, Russia's dependence on Boeing and Airbus became painfully clear. The country needed its own airliners urgently.